Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Manojavam Marutatulya Vegam Jitendriyam Buddhimatam Varishtham Vatatmajam Vanarayutha Mukhyam Shri Ramadutam Shirasa Namami Kujantam Rama Rameti Madhuram Madhuraksharam Aruhya Kavita Shakham Vande Valmiki Kokilam Apadam Apahartaram Dataram Sarvasampadam Lokabhiramam Shri Ramam Bhuyo Bhuyo Namamyaham Dakshine Lakshmano Yasya Vame Cha Janakatmaja Purato Marutir Yasya Tam Vande Raghunandanam. There is a famous verse about the Ramayana and Sri Ramachandra, which many of us may have heard, and if you have not, here it is. Vedya Vedye Pare Pumsi Jate Dasharathatmaje Vedaha Prachetasa Dasit Sakshat Ramayanatmanaha. The Supreme Lord, who is the knower of all Vedas and knowledge, Veda Vedya, that transcendental personality, Pare Pumsaha, Jate, took birth, Dasharathatmaje, as the son of Dasharatha. So when the Supreme Lord descends, along with him, all of his associates and the Vedas also manifest. Vedaha Prachetasat Asit. The Vedas also descended through Valmiki. Sakshat Ramayana Atmanaha. And they took the form of Ramayana. The Vedas have a purpose. The purpose is to help humanity transcend the material encumbrances and return back to the actual home, or go to our actual home. That home is the spiritual world in the association of and in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Ramachandra, or any of the Lord Narayana forms, Sri Krishna, his consorts or consort, and all of his associates and servants, and engage in uninterrupted devotional service there. So this place, for most of us, conditioned living beings, is a place where we are playing out the game of desires. And we're so engaged in the game of desires that it requires the Lord to come from time to time and to continuously send his messengers to remind us and to turn our attention towards him and his consort. From now on, whenever I say him, let's just assume them, because the Lord is never without his consort. And so the Acharya or Gurus that come in succession and come from different ways to awaken or to remind us are very special souls. And that entire concept or tattva here is being represented by Hanumanji. So we're going to do third and fourth verses of Sundara Kanda's first chapter. And the verse begins this way because up until we heard that Hanumanji had raised his head, neck, and the shoulders and looked like this formidable bull among cows, ready. And we discussed what those mean. And there is a little change in his activity. Up until he was ready on Mount Mahendra, he had increased the size of his body. He had scanned everything around his flight path. His body grew and became strong, and his shoulders, neck, and head were in one straight line. And then Valmiki says, Atha Vaidurya Varneshu Shadvaleshu Mahabalaha Dhiraha Salilatalpeshu Vichachara Yathasukham. Ataha, at that moment, or at this moment, Hanuman got off the mountain and scanned the shoreline of the ocean. And so here there are three words describing Hanumanji. Also describing, some people say it describes Hanuman, some people say it describes the lay of the land, but we'll take both meanings. So if we take the description of Hanuman, there are three names of Hanuman in this verse. Vaidurya Varneshu, in the color of cat's eye gem, which is yellowish or orangish. Mahabalaha, and the third is Dhiraha. So we'll go word by word. Vaidurya Varneshu. Although the other words along have the shu associated with them, so most likely it should mean the grass around him, but we'll come to that later. So Vaidurya Varneshu means the color of Hanumanji was in the color of a cat's eye, or yellowish or orangish or brownish, as they say. So this is the color of a brahmachari or a sannyasi. Now, outer garment may be of a particular color, but there are grahasthas who can also be sannyasis because the inner color is saffron. The idea is that sannyasa does not mean only karma sannyas tyag. That is the topic in the 5th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Sannyasa is the idea of giving up of proprietorship. And when that is given up, one can be doing anything in the world. One can be a grahastha, one can be of any varna, doesn't matter. And you can be in any ashram, and they can be considered sannyasa. They can be considered to be in sannyas. So Vaidurya Varneshu already tells us that Hanumanji is a completely renounced personality. And the renunciation is that he is not attracted to, enamored by, or feeling a sense of proprietorship when he looks at the material energy. The conditioned living entity, when we look at the material world and the material aspects, we have an immediate urge for possessing it. And the great idea, or the formula for getting out of this world is to become free of that possessiveness, because as soon as one has this possessiveness, the material energy grabs the person like anything. And that grabbing is so difficult to let loose of. So that's one indicator. Second, Hanumanji is called Mahabalaha. Of course, everyone knows Hanumanji is very, very strong. In this case, the Bala is spiritual strength. And he's not just Balavan, he's Mahabala. That means his spiritual strength is so intense that he will never be touched by the waters of the material ocean. And that is why he flew or jumped across. And even when he is in the midst of Lanka, although he has an appreciation for how wonderful Lanka is, he has no attraction for it. And that is his spiritual strength. A test for all of our spiritual strength is, of course, I'm not speaking for any of you or the audience. I'm speaking in general, that the strength of one's spiritual health is whether or not there is attraction to matter. Now, most of us are used to saying, oh, in that case, I have absolutely no no strength at all, spiritually speaking. And sometimes we are very hard on ourselves. But what is important to see is whenever such doubts appear, and to inspire us to go forward, just look back to where we were and where we are. It might be possible that we haven't come too far. That's fine. In some cases, we'll be astounded of how far we have gotten. Yes, there is still distance to traverse, no doubt. But a long journey begins with the first step. So at least if we have moved 1 or 2 steps further, there is some idea of strength, but it is not our strength. It is the strength of someone else that we have borrowed. And it is their strength that is helping us. So we pray to Lord Balaram, to the Supreme Lord, to his devotees, the acharyas, because we are borrowing their strength. And on the strength of their association, we have come thus far. So generally, our assessment should not be, oh, I have no spiritual strength. Maybe. But those who we are serving are very strong. They have broken the shackles of the material world. So we take their strength. And in Prabhupada's phrase, we hold on to their dhotis or saris. Whoever they are helping us move through the material energy. So Mahabala. And then the third one is Dhira. And I'm going to explain Dhira when we read the rest of the verse because there's a context to it. So Hanuman, who's in this yellowish, brownish, orangish color, was extremely strong. Shadvaleshu. Shadvala is this carpet of grass. Actually, in the second meaning, Vaidurya Varneshu Shadvaleshu means this grass that is yellowish. At the shore of an ocean, the grass may not be fully green, but it has a carpet that looks like water. Salila Kalpeshu. It's not water, but it looks like water, or it is marshy. Vichachara. He roamed about in that place. Yatha Sukham. Very happily. So one might wonder, he was up on the mountain. Then Valmiki tells us he got down and happily roamed around. This means he is surveying this place. So let's look at what it means. Obviously, every word of Sundara Kanda or Ramayana actually has such weighty meaning. So Shadvaleshu Salila Kalpeshu means this yellowish looking carpet of grass that looked or seemed like water or marshy. So these are Hanumanji's exploring or examining something that are symptoms of the ocean. We discussed that the ocean that's between him and Lanka is the ocean of material existence, Samsara Sagara. So at the shore of that ocean, before we enter the ocean, there are some things that give us an indication. They're called symptoms, right? So the symptoms at the shore that look like water but is not water is an indication of the different desires and aspirations of the conditioned living entity. We're all full of desires, full, thousands and thousands of desires. Sometimes in the scriptures, they say, Acharya's comment that in a day, a living entity has about 5,000 desires, just in one day. Now, what to speak of lifetimes? So those desires is what brings a person to live or be in the material ocean. And so that is at the shore. Second is Salila Kalpeshu. Kalpa means to imagine or looking like, seems like. Salila is water. Salila Kalpeshu, something that seems like or looks like water, is also means the enamoring or the Maya style, the aspect that confuses. It looks like something but is not. In Sanskrit, it's called Maya, that which is not. In the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, very first verse, Vyasadeva tells us, Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimaya. Teja Vari. So there are these pairs. Teja Vari. Fire and water. When there is fire, right on top of those flames, we see vapor. And it looks like water. So mirage in a desert. The desert is very hot. And the living entity, particularly deer or any other animal, looks up and he sees water. And he thinks that there is water and follows it and keeps on following it because there is no water, but it assumes or feels like there is water. That is called Tejo Vari. Or someone who's lost in the sea, when they look out far, at the horizon, it seems like there is land. That is Vari Mridam. There is land on water. This is nothing but a mirage. And this mirage is the idea that there is happiness in the material world, in material activities. And that's what makes the living entity pursue that kind of happiness, but it never gets there. Salila Talpeshu, looks like water, but there is no water. So this mirage of happiness and hope is fueled by the desires of a living entity. And Hanumanji, who's the guru, who's about to jump and enter Lanka, is examining, studying, what kind of desires do these people have? And how am I going to break this desire? Of course, Lanka represents the body. Sita is considered the pure living soul or living entity. So we're not talking about Sita Devi, we're talking about the preparation of a spiritual master as he embarks on his journey to understand how this world operates. It's called good Sambandha Gyan. And for any one of us who want to be or aspire to be Madhyam Adhikari, so we should not say, well, this class is not for me because I'm Kanishta. I'm never going to be a Madhyam Adhikari, so forget about it. We become purified and we progress when we also participate as Madhyama Adhikaris. We become Madhyama Adhikaris. Of course, we never know when we cross that line from Kanishta to Madhyama, but at least there is the idea that Janma Sarthaka Kari Kara Para Upkar. And part of getting there is to know how this world operates. Therefore, we study the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna spent so much time in the Bhagavad Gita giving so much about Sambandha Gyan, a little about Abhideya. Abhideya means the activities that one should do, and only hints of Prayojana, the ultimate goal. And that too indirectly hints, Tad Dhama Paramam Mama. But he doesn't explain the rasa enjoyed in Prayojana. Most of Bhagavad Gita, a big part of it, is Sambandha and sometimes Sambandha mixed with Abhideya. And for those of us who may not be aware of these terminologies, the entire Vedic knowledge can be categorized as teachings within 3 buckets. The first bucket is called Sambandha Gyan, the knowledge of relationships of everything around me and myself. Who am I? What is my relationship with the material nature? What is my relationship with the absolute truth, the supreme personality? What is his relationship with matter? And what is the relationship of all of us, the living entity, matter, time, the Supreme Lord, etc. Abhideya means what are some of the activities that a entity can do to elevate his or her consciousness, both within the material world and ultimately out of the material world. That is called Abhideya. And Prayojana means what is the gift or goal or the purpose for doing it. And the purpose is to be situated fully in one's original constitutional relationship as a servant of the Supreme Lord. And on the way or along the way, there are a lot of things that distract us from that identity. And so good knowledge, proper knowledge, and activities based on that knowledge are important for the goal. Another is Salila Kalpeshu, is that the conditioned living entities, if we notice, they're always running after a future state of happiness. They cannot be happy in the current state of situations. There is always a promise of future happiness. The difference in bhakti and those who are not practicing bhakti is even the Vedas in general give us a future state. So that's the carrot about a future state. So people work hard now, so hoping that they'll be happy in the future. But in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that the performance of bhakti gives us happiness in this state itself. And that catapults a person to go further. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. So there is already in the ocean of happiness, now that just keeps increasing. Versus, I'm suffering today, so I can be happy tomorrow. There's more of goodness in one sense, but yet the person is not happy in the present. So Hanumanji is exploring all that. Vichachara yatha sukham. Chachara means wandering. We call the great acharyas or anyone who is engaged in the activity of helping others become free of material existence are called Parivrajaka-acharya. Parivraja, vraja means to go, parivraja means to constantly go. Parivrajaka acharya. So Parivrajaka in this verse is Vichachara. He is roaming and wandering about, examining and exploring. But how? Yatha sukham. That's the condition. We are also wanderers. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells us that Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Jiva. But before he becomes Bhagyavan, he says Brahmanda Brahmite. Brahmite means wandering aimlessly. Here it's Vichachara, carefully examining and wandering or roaming about. Yatha Sukham is the difference that they are also wandering in the universe. We are also wandering in the universe. They are happily wandering. We are struggling as we wander from one species to another. They are happy, Yatha Sukham, because they don't identify themselves as part of or residents of this ocean. They are not touched by or enamored by the quagmire of material existence. And they're happy because they are situated in the mood of service. And they are themselves free of any contamination of the material energy. Therefore, Prabodhananda Saraswati, a great Acharya, says, for a person who is situated in service to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to the Supreme Lord, although this world, Krishna says, Dukhalayam Ashashvatam, for a person who is rendering service and sees their identity as a servant of the Supreme Lord, Vishwam Purna Sukhayate. It actually acts exactly opposite of what Krishna has spoken in the Bhagavad Gita. All Krishna says, Brahma Bhuvanal Loka Punaravartino Arjuna. It from all the way from Lord Brahma's planet down to any other planet. Bhuvanal Loka. Yet, Prabodhananda Saraswati says, Vishwam Purna Sukhayate. It doesn't matter where you are in the universe, you'll be happy. Why? The happiness is not from location. The happiness is from avocation, from the engagement of service. So we covered what is Mahabala. Then, now that he's examining and he's happy because of what we just explained, and he's carefully observing, and so he's called Dhira. Prabhupada gave us the meaning of the word Dhira, excuse me, as sober. So the opposite of sober, adhira, means intoxicated. One who's not sober, one who's so mixed, their vision is all colored. They're intoxicated by desires, by wrong conceptions. And therefore, how a dhira reads the situation and how an adhira reads the situation are usually opposites naturally. And the very first instruction of Krishna starts for Arjuna with the word dhira. Dehinaha asmin dehe kaumaram yavanam jara. Tatha dehantara prapti dhiraha tatra na muhyati. Because a dhira, who's a sober person, sees dehinaha asmin dehe, that the resident of this body is different from the body itself. Because asmin dehe, in this body, kaumaram yavanam jara. In this body, he sees transformations. Tatha deha antara, after the end of this body, antara prapti means he attains again another body. Or tatha antara, at the end of it, deha prapti, he attains another body. So there is no change, as Krishna says, there's no change to the dehi, the one who's residing, but there's change to the residents. One who can see that carefully, such a person is called dhira, na muhyati. They are not bewildered by the changes. And so what Krishna has not spoken, the dhvani in the verse is that a person who's not adhira, he's an adhira, completely muhyati, becomes fearful. So here Valmiki is telling us that Hanuman is dhira. Another way, nirukti way of understanding dhira is dhyam ramate iti dhiraha. One who is enjoying the bliss of intelligence is called dhira. Similar, sober. Can any one of us recollect situations when our intelligence has become confused? Like Arjuna showed Vishada, Arjuna Vishada Yoga. And when our intelligence becomes confused, what kind of feelings are are born within us. Anger, frustration, delusion, irritation, sadness, fear is because the intelligence is unstable. It's not fixed. And so there is no happiness in it. But dhyam ramate, one whose intelligence is fixed in the purpose of life, in the proper understanding and knowledge of oneself and the surroundings, they're always happy. Ramate. So when situations around them change completely, 180 degrees, our spiritual master uses the word reversals, it doesn't bother them. Because dhira, they're sober. They see that the material world is full of transformations. Kaumaram, Yavanam, Jara. After Jara, again, Kaumaram has to come. And therefore, Krishna says, the very next verse, Matra Sparshasta Kaunteya, Sita Ushna Sukha Dukkhada. What comes will go. And what goes will come again. However, we also know that by the help of Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ramayana, by hearing the words of our acharyas, when our intelligence becomes stabilized, what are the feelings? We become happy. It seems like we are settled. We feel secure. We're not fearful anymore. Because the intelligence has been given something to rest on. So when the intelligence rests on matter, which is by nature flickering, the intelligence cannot make a person happy. But when the intelligence is resting on something that is substantial, then a person is happy, sober. Because there's a path, there is clear. This is what Arjuna said, Nashta moha smritira labdha karishye vachanam tava. Because Krishna is acting as Arjuna's intelligence and guiding him. Of course, in the Katha Upanishad analogy of the chariot, the wheels, the passenger, the horses, the reins, we say that the chariot driver is the intelligence. And so it's perfect that Arjuna is the passenger and Krishna is the chariot driver. It's the Kathopanishad verse in full picture, in full embodiment. So dhira tatra na mohi. So Hanuman is not bewildered by what is going to happen. Next verse. Dvijan vitrasayan. Not vitrasayan. Dvijan vitrasayan. Dhiman urasa padapan haran. Mrigamscha subahun nignan pravruddha iva kesari. Literal meaning is, this great Hanuman, who's very wise, roamed around like a lion. Pravruddha means progressed, iva kesari, like a lion. And as he was progressing through that area, Dvijan Vritrasaran, all the birds became distressed and flew away. Padapan Haran, all the trees became uprooted by his chest, Urasa. And with his hands, he was shooing away animals. Mriganscha subahun nignam. Nignam is to discard or disperse, dismiss. When a lion walks, all the animals run away. So now here Hanuman is glorified as Dhiman and Kesari, lion. So let's consider what the meaning of Dvijan Dvijan Vitrasayan. Trasa means distress. Trasayan means distressing, and Vitrasayan is completely distressing or very intensely distressing. So the literal meaning is he put all the birds in severe distress. Why? Because birds perch on a branch of a tree to rest. And when the tree is shaken, they become restless and they fly away. Actually, in another explanation, in another Ramayana, the commentator says that all the it's there in Padyavali also, if I'm not wrong. I can't remember the verse right now. That desires of a person sit on the branches of the tree called body and are constantly making noise. But the clap or the chanting of the holy name disperses all the birds away. That means their desires are all gone. Similarly, although the literal meaning is this, the spiritual meaning is the word Dvijan, we know means twice born. So one might say he put the Brahmanas in distress. No, here Dvijan means birds. But the word Dvija in Sanskrit has many meanings. Everything that is born twice is called Dvija. So in our body, our nails are called Dvija because when you cut, they come back again. Teeth are called Dvija because we have milk teeth, they fall, and then the new teeth come again. Birds are called Dvijas, of course, because first they're born in an egg and then they come out of an egg. So they're born twice. Brahmanas are called Dvijas. Actually, Brahmana, Kshatriya, and Vaishyas are called Dvijas because they're born twice. One, biologically, and two, through samskara. There is something else that is also called Dvija here. And that is all of the effects or desires, or when I say effects, I mean affects, the feelings and all the emotions that are born from dualities. Dvija. There are always, in this material world, things come in pairs. Dvija. And Hanuman was putting into distress all of the consequences or affects of the dualities of material nature. Generally, it is these outcomes of dualities that put a person into distress. We're all victims of dualities. Hanuman is putting the dualities and their consequences into distress. That is what a liberated person is. Because he himself or she herself is beyond these dualities. So Bhagavad Gita, chapter 7, text 28 tells us, Yesham tu antagatam papam, jananam punya karmanam, te dvandva moha nirmukta. Dvandva moha means the illusion from these dualities. Nirmukta, they're completely released. Bhajante mam dhrida. In the purport, exactly what Hanumanji is doing, Prabhupada explains beautifully. I'm not reading the entire purport, just sections of it. For those who are sinful, atheistic, foolish and deceitful, it is very difficult to transcend the duality of desire and hate. Only those who have passed their lives in practicing the regulative principles of religion, who have acted piously, and who have conquered sinful reaction can accept devotional service and gradually rise to pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 5, verse number 2, that if one actually wants to be liberated, he must render service to the devotees. Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimuktehe. But one who associates with materialistic people is on the path leading to the darkest region of existence. Tamodwaram yoshitam sangi sangam. All the devotees of the Lord traverse this earth, reference as we are looking at Hanumanji. All the devotees of the Lord traverse this earth just to recover the conditioned souls from delusion. The impersonalists do not know that, forgetting the constitutional position as subordinate to the Supreme Lord is the greatest violation of God's law. End quote. So, with Vijan, with Vitrasayan. Okay. Then what else did he do? Padapan Haran. He uprooted trees. The word literally it means uprooted the tree, Padapan. The trees are called Vriksha, that means they spread. Padapan, Pana means to drink, or Padapa literally means nourished by the feet. So a tree is nourished by its roots, and the roots are the ones that it stands on, so they're called the feet. And because it takes water from the feet or from the roots up, is called Padapa. For the Dhvani, or the spiritual meaning, is nourished by the feet. That's what Padapa means. We all use our feet to go from one position to another position. So we are all called Padapan because we go from one position or one body to another body by the activity called karma. And we are nourished by, inspired by, influenced by, subjected to karma. And so this activity or rajasic, passionate work is called karmic activity. Of course, we say tamasic also, or even sattvic, but there is activity, moving from one position to another. And one is nourished by activities in this material world. And by uprooting the tree means Hanuman, for himself and for others, is uprooting the tree of karma. He's not accumulating any karma. In the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, we hear karma, vikarma, and akarma. And akarma is suggested by Krishna because there is no karmic reaction. So activities of devotional service. By akarma, the tree of material existence is uprooted. There's a fantastic verse in Padyavali where it was written by Sridhar Swami, the great commentator on Bhagavatam, where he says, it's a rhetorical question he raises to Lord Krishna. My dear Krishna, which aspect should I become attracted to? Your impersonal or your personal feature? Because I notice that by engaging in this impersonal conception, not one leaf from the tree of material existence has ever fallen. But by chanting of your holy name and becoming attracted to your personal form, the entire tree of material existence has been uprooted. And this tree is referred to in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Urdhvamulam Adhashakham, Ashwatham Prahuravyayam. And Hanumanji is uprooting the tree of karmic activity. And the word akarma, actually, although we say is karma without any reaction, more specifically, it means activity for and dedicated to the Supreme Lord. Because before karma is that letter or alphabet A. In Bhagavad Gita chapter 10, verse 33, Krishna says, Aksharanam akaro asmi. I am the akara, I am the letter A among all alphabets or letters. So akarma means activity for Vishnu. And third chapter we hear Krishna says that one who works for Vishnu becomes free of material bondage. And he says Urasa, by his chest. So Hanuman's size is so big that massive trees only come up to his chest and they're being uprooted as he walks around. The chest indicates his own sankalpa, his desire. He has a desire that I want to relieve the living entities from their severe, painful, unending existence in the ocean of material existence. Because I'm an instrument of the Supreme Lord. I want to play that role as an instrument. And that sankalpa is what is keeping us all at bay from any danger from material energy. Of course, we ourselves can go right to the edge and at the margin. But whenever we are protected, we know it's the sankalpa of our spiritual masters, of our acharyas, of the Supreme Lord. He says, Dhiman. Dhiman, one with great intelligence, great vision. And Mrigamscha Nignan. Mriga. The word Marga comes from the word Mriga. Mriga is the animal, generally called a deer, because always searching. And Marga is the path that you chart as you're searching. So Mrigan means the conditioned living entity who's always searching for happiness. Mrigamscha Nignan. So the idea of this constant search, Hanumanji removes. That such a spiritual master gives a person such a wonderful goal of life, a purpose, that the searching stops. Searching for happiness stops and one is put on a path of happiness. And he is not a person who's incapable. Subahun, he has great arms, means he's very, very capable, very dexterous, very skillful, an expert. In the Gurvashtakam, we offer prayers to our spiritual master every day that he's an expert. Tatradi Dakshat. He is excellent, expert. Subahu, because great arms. And Pravriddha Iva Kesari. Pravriddha means progressing like a lion. The word Kesari, of course, when a lion walks in, all the other animals, mrigas, run away. Because they have no place there. He keeps that whole place free of any disturbance. Here the word Kesari literally means one who is a person engaged in or fixed in Brahman. The word kam charati or kam sarati. One who roams around in Brahman. Oh, brahmachari is what I say. Brahmachari, one who is fixed in Brahman. Here, it means he is Kesari, like a lion. Literally, one who is fixed in Brahman. It's an Upanishadic verse. Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. Okay. So I recited the verse Veda Vedye Pare Pumse just to show us that how the Ramayana is nothing but the teachings of the Vedas given to us as the Lord and his associates engage in these beautiful pastimes. Any questions, comments, thoughts, reflections, anything? I'll be happy to take now. All right, seems like nothing. That's interesting. If nothing, then we'll end here and we'll meet again next week. Next week, we'll go through more verses. This chapter has 130 verses. So at this rate, if we do only one verse, 130 weeks, and we might still be in the first chapter of Sundara Kanda. Although it will be blissful, I don't think there is enough patience for it. Oh, someone raised their hand. Shamakul.
Yes, Madhapriya has a question.
Yeah, Madhapriya.
I had the question that you said that Hanuman does not like Hanuman flies across the ocean, but like because he's completely detached. But then in one stage, the some demoness like traps him and he goes into the water, right?
He goes into her stomach.
Yeah, but after that, like he comes out and he's in the water. So what does that mean?
There is a literal story, and then there is the philosophical story. That Hanuman does not touch the waters means that he is not a resident of the material ocean of existence. That's all it means. Literally, if he touches water, then one might ask, oh, he's in Surasa's stomach. Not Surasa, Simhika's stomach. So when we get there, we will hear. So don't go by the literal aspect of it, that he doesn't touch a drop of water, not like that. Then one might say he puts his tail in the water later. So don't go by the literal. The first verse of Sundarakanda says, Charana Charite Pati. He moves in the path taken by the Charanas, and they only travel in the sky. All of us are in the ocean of material existence. The great acharyas are not product of this material world per se. That's what it means.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, go ahead, Archana.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, can I ask you a question from the the previous lectures?
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, Prabhu, we have heard many times that when Mother Sita is around, Ramachandra does not kill any demons. But during the pastime of Virada, wasn't Mother Sita first attacked by Virada, and then wasn't she there when he was also killed? I just had this doubt, and I wasn't sure if it was appropriate. So,
We'll just answer it simply. When you hear the recording previously, there's more detail. Virada first carried Sita Devi, and then he dropped Sita Devi and picked up Rama and Lakshmana and ran. When Lakshmana is trying to do something about it, Ramachandra says, this is the path we anyway have to go on. Let it go. Don't do anything. And they go further where Sita is not in the vicinity, and that's when they cut off Virada's arms.
okay.
Sita is not there in the proximity.
Okay, Prabhu. That clarifies. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Only by very specific permission. Anyway, that's another day for another story, but not now. But I hope that answers your question.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, thank you all very much. Is there any burning question? Because I'm going to end soon.
One last question, Truth, if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
For most conditioned living entities, to hear something like Hanuman in the form of the Guru jumped across the ocean to save a soul, like say Mother Sita here, to rescue her or to give her the message of Godhead, seems nice, seems very assuring. But for us, I mean, like her, like the very person Hanuman has come in front of Mother Sita and is trying to rescue her. But for us in this modern age, we have the recordings, we have the lectures, etc. But we sometimes feel this is not sufficient. I need somebody to personally come and change my situation of from being stuck to become unstuck here. What do we do in such a scenario when we have such kinds of feeling that we feel so helpless that words are not sufficient for us, but we expect or we need more.
So we relate to Arjuna. Excellent question, Shamakun. We relate to Arjuna, that Arjuna was being told by Krishna. Actually, the Bhagavad Gita should finish by the end of second chapter. Yet Arjuna, every chapter, 3, 4, 5, 6, even 7, asks Krishna, can you tell me more specifically? Can you tell me more? I'm confused by your words. Because Krishna told him early on itself, Tyaktva hridaya daurbalyam uttishta parantapa. This is the weakness of heart. And we all feel like that. Not that the words of the Guru are not potent enough. We have what is called inertia. Like in physics, you need sufficient force to move the object. This inertia is our own holding on to whatever conception. The sense of helplessness actually is that someone else should do my work for me. Therefore, we feel it's not possible. If we look at it at the bare bones of it, it is we're expecting someone else to do the heavy lifting for us because we think, I cannot lift. But we are lifting heavier burden of karma actually on our shoulders. We as living entities, the soul is very powerful, can carry very, very intense loads of karma. The words of the gurus or the words of Shastra, the examples of sadhus are strong examples. What most people are stuck by is not the weight of things, but perhaps a way to find out how to get out of it. So they want everything to be spelled out, everything to be spoon-fed like a baby, and that's when maybe I will move. And a person needs to be, I guess, come to the realization that I have the sound of scripture, the form of the guru and the vigraha, the deity, and the support of all the sadhus to make one step. The third piece that stops someone is, I stand here, I want to be there, and we all think we should be Hanuman to jump to that position. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur only asks us to take one step in the right direction. That's all it is required. So it's our own impatience, our own inability to sort of pass through a roadmap, because we are used to instantly things moving out. Everything should go away quickly. What? I heard Bhagavatam, all the problems should go away. There is never a promise in the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, the problems will go away. There is only a promise that we learn to navigate the problems. So it needs to be looked carefully that spoon feeding sometimes may be possible, but unless we are our own grown-ups and responsible, there's no movement. That's what a baby means. I'm hungry. Food needs to come to me. An adult is, I'm hungry, I go to my food. It doesn't come to me. Only up to a point is the food coming to me. After that, I'm expected to go to my own food. And Prabhupada says, even the lion who's the king of the jungle cannot expect to sit there with his mouth open and food will come to him. Never. Even the lion has to get to what. So each one of us has to make that journey to fulfilling the words given by the great personalities. So it's a misconception, actually. It's not a question of not having strength. It's a question of misconception. I don't know if I answered your question, Shamakun, but that's how one needs to look at it.
Yes, Prabhu, you did. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Please accept my humble obeisances. All Grish
Yes, I.
Prabhuji, one just follow-up question. Wonderful explanation. Everyone has to make effort. And Prabhupada said, Nahi suptasya sihasas pravishanti mukhe mrugaha. Even lion has to work hard. But when you come to the state of inertia, all this instruction, what you're saying, get up, wake up, fight for the cause. You have to go. You have to do it. Doesn't work. It doesn't
Right.
work and doesn't apply. So, of
Right.
course, these words are really powerful. It's absorbable right now. But after a few hours, the person who is going through that phase of inertia, it's very difficult for him to absorb this.
Right. It is. It is because the living entity, my spiritual master calls it the affection for matter is so strong that instead of becoming oriented towards the supreme, it becomes bahirmukha, very quickly looks back at what they are carrying. And as soon as he turns, I'm saying he as the living entity, turns to matter, they're enamored by matter. It is not an issue of that they cannot carry the weight. It is suddenly they realize, oh, how much weight am I carrying? And that's when they get boggled down. So question to ask is when a person feels, oh, I cannot do this. Oh, it worked for 2 days. It did not work. Simple question to ask is, where's my attention? And for sure, the answer is my attention is in matter. Can I change my attention from matter to spirit, to the spiritual being, the spiritual teachings, the spiritual sound? That's the effort in which there is purification. That's the effort in which there is burning. It's called tapasya. Tapasya means has to be some burning feeling. It's not an easy road. The basic law of physics is as you move through anything, there has to be friction. And you can never have frictionless entities. You only minimize friction. But it's in the friction that there is burning, heat. So we all have to feel that friction as we move through matter. That is called tapasya. Otherwise, tapatraya. That's also there. Tapa, one cannot escape from. One feels that I'm heading in the right direction. So there is some burning, sure. But I take that, the burning that, I give up. This is too difficult. That's easier. But the real glory is when one says, okay, it's difficult now. Can I take if I took a step of 1 unit, that's too big. Can I take a step of 0.75 units, 0.5 units, 0.1 unit? But it's still movement. It's all where is the attention. You can examine any number of cases. Our own life is enough examples. Whenever there is that feeling, where is our attention? And that's the answer. Tato vimukha chetasam is what Prahlad Maharaj says. Because of the attention has gone away from the Supreme. We're so accustomed to being influenced by Maya.
Thank you. I know it's getting late. There's two things. When you say the basic law of physics that when you move, there is a friction. I may not agree with that. You can correct me, because that's the first thing. And second thing is that, let's say if the friction comes, before friction comes, we're taking our big steps. When the friction comes, we started taking a small step. Is it still valuable? Because when you started taking small step, we feel this other pressure coming on us that, hey, my capacity has been reduced. I'm decreasing my speed, and I just have to take small steps. So that's also being the other depression to the mind, that why it's happening like this.
Yeah, that's okay. As long as it's progressive. Prabhupada said in spiritual life, there's only two states, progressive or regressive. There is no standing still. Even the great Hanuman progressing towards Lanka, as Madhav Priya asked, is pulled down by Simika. He's surprised. Whoa. But not disturbed by it, finds ways to get out of it. But even his speed is curbed. That's the nature of the material world. In the 11th canto, Krishna talks to Uddhava about Loka Tattva Vichakshana. One should have a clear understanding of how this world works. One who doesn't have that is in all sorts of trouble, because we have wrong understanding of the material world and we have wrong expectations from the material world. So Loka Tattva Vichakshana, we used to call it LTV, is very, very important. So if we don't understand how the material world works, there's always something surprising and shocking. But one who has Loka Tattva Vichakshana is never surprised, never bewildered by, whoa, what is that?
Thank you,
And
Prabhu.
this is not a physics class, so we'll let the physics one go.
Yeah, but the taking small step is still okay, right? For the time being.
Taking any step in the right direction is okay. Big or small is irrelevant.
Thank you.
All right, 9:40. We'll stop here. Thank you very much for your participation. You keep inspiring me. Thank you. And let's offer our prayers to Sri Hanumanji, the mighty, mighty person who represents all the great personalities in our lives who have made a contribution in driving away the birds of desire, uprooting the tree of our material existence, thankfully examining our hearts and helping us navigate out of this beautiful Lanka back to being restored in the service of the Supreme Lord Sri Ramachandra. Thank you. And Sri Hanuman Ji ki jai, Sri Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman Ji